So I think an important part of entrepreneurship is to remember that you just cobble things together, and you slowly do this over time, and you build and build and build at the thing that you're trying to build. I think a lot of people get sort of mistaken to think that there is, when you do something that's entrepreneurial or something that is innovative. So entrepreneurial is where you create a new company, a new entity. And then something that's innovative is you're creating products that sort of serve a need. But we often think that it sort of starts out and it's perfect when it starts out. But what you remember is that it's actually a learning process where you're learning product fit, and you're gradually building things slowly over time, and you don't really know what is the best way to do things, and you don't have the resources at the beginning, and you're like, how am I going to do this, right? And you never do, right? But you have to jump into it. There's no way that anybody ever has the resources to do something at the beginning that is like a major overtaking or undertaking, where it takes a lot of work and you don't quite know what to do, right? And you have to remember that it's just this kind of long-term iterating, constantly pushing at something, and you have to remember it's like a decade, 2 decades by the time something actually turns into fruition. And you often hear this sort of entrepreneurship story where stuff like explodes, but you don't realize is that often most stories is that it's a long thing where somebody has just been working at it for a long time, and then they sort of decide that they'll take it to the product market and see what happens, and then maybe it actually works out. So there's lots of missing pieces in stories that you don't hear about whenever you sort of focus on those things. And then we also have to remember, as what you see is, the fanfare story, right? The sort of glory, it's a fishing story, is that, everything sort of worked out perfectly and it came together. But that's the truth of the matter. With most of this stuff, it's a long, difficult process where you're working at different things and, trying to piece things together, even though that you don't know quite what it's going to be, and allowing other people. Another important part is allowing other people to participate or figuring out how to do that. So I've learned a lot of this, not only in sort of the research game, in reading and sort of investigating things, but with the Reciprocity Project, it is very much me cobbling together all of, the resources that I have, spending far too much money that my wife probably thinks I'm crazy, at just making sure that things work and that it's helpful to other people, and just not relentlessly just keep pushing forward without not getting upset with it, and realizing that it's a long-term journey, and then hopefully it will turn into something that's really amazing. And I think it is getting there. It's definitely getting better. But you have to remember it is a long-term endeavor where it doesn't go as quick as one would ever hope it would. And, it's not as... You don't make as much money as you think you're going to make at the beginning, and all these kind of things. It takes a lot of just gumption and not stopping with it, and being able to just keep going. And I think reminding yourself that it is this long-term endeavor, that it's going to take a lot longer than you ever going to think. And you're going to look back. What's going to happen is, the decade mark, you're going to look back and say, well, that wasn't so bad. But in the moment, you have to keep doing it and keep pushing forward and not stopping. And that's an important lesson that we need to always be constantly remembering, is that it's going to take a long time, and in the moment it's going to seem like it's not going to come fast enough. But if you keep working at it and chipping away, it does turn into something. It's like any other sort of learning capability aspect of thing in your life, where there is just this slow grind day in and day out, right? It's not like an Olympian. The 2022 Olympics are going on right now. it's not like an Olympian just gets to the Olympics. It is a 10, 15 year grind when they started when they're 5 years old, and they take everything very seriously, where it's always investment, and you have to do that for such a long time that when it gets to it, my swim coach actually had a really good analogy. It's like it's like the ballet or dancing. It's you don't get to the moment where that thing should never ever feel like when you actually get to the moment and get to the competition. It should never feel like this is the big thing. It should just feel like a practice where it's just, all right, it's another performance that I'm putting on. And that's actually the truth of it, is that when it becomes a real deal, it's really not that big of a thing, and it's kind of a gradual process of getting there. It's when you're constantly training and building and training and building, and things are going to happen along the way. You're going to get sick, and you just get back at it, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. And it takes a heck of a lot longer than anybody ever thinks it does. At least for me, I always feel that way. Maybe other people are not like that, but I always think that these things take a lot longer than I ever think it's going to take, and then it gets done eventually. And then when it's done, it's so like anticlimactic, where you're just like, okay, that's it. And that's really it, right? Like, it's just kind of just slow grind, slow burn for a long time. So hopefully you get something from this. Remember that. Don't ever get to the I got to get there quicker, all that sort of scammy crap. It's going to burn you. But just remember, it's going to take a decade, 2 decades, and just be happy with it as you're doing it. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day.